to look back at the last Forge FC contest.
Simply stunning stuff! And finally, their goal!
Here is Match and Review.
My word, what a rocket!
With Anthony Urciuoli on the Forge Audio Network.
Hey, Forge fans, Anthony Urciuoli here with Jessica Lisi. It is the Match and Review. Forge FC falling to York United. Jess, we thought that Forge started pretty well, and then York got that first goal 6 minutes in, and the game just changed.
Yeah, definitely. They started off very composed. They kept possession, but they didn't go forward with their possession. They were very composed going around the back and really playing those simple passes, but again, nothing penetrating that back line of York. York did a great job at really taking advantage of what was given to them. Obviously, great performance on their end, not Forge's best tonight.
It looked like York saw something on that left side of Forge's defense. They were switching the field a lot, and it burned Forge on that second goal, but they've seen something, because it looked like they were attacking that throughout the game.
Yeah, definitely. The left side was a little weak tonight. The switch ball was on every single time. They were having a lot of success getting that ball over top, being able to get crosses in, as well as shots, obviously. So, yeah, York definitely took advantage of what was given to them.
Yeah, De Rosario opened the scoring for York. Let's check in, though, with Forge head coach and technical director Bobby Smyrniotis, because it was a bold statement after the match. We'll let you listen to it.
Maybe one of the worst matches Forge has played in 4 years, 2.5 years. Simplest way to put it.
Did you get the start before York scored that first goal?
I don't know. I can't remember that far because at the end wasn't too good. Just all around, just not good enough. We lack energy today. Can't lack energy in any game. We talk about it with the team. You can look at some of the games that some of the opponents York's played, low tempo games in the last few ones, but they're not going to come in here and play at a low tempo. Everyone comes in here and plays, whether we're here or at their pitch. It's always a massive match to play against Forge, and today we didn't have the energy. And if you don't have the energy, you give opponents an opportunity in the game. Credit to them. They took their opportunities, in certain aspects of the counter, and they've done them.
Now, you heard Bobby talk about energy, and tempo was one of the keys to the match. I mean, did they at least start with some tempo, or did it trail off? What did you see?
Yeah, they started with tempo. They really, again, they were composed on the ball, but they were able to keep that tempo up. That energy was there in the initial few minutes after the first goal. You did see the momentum kind of shift. They were able to still go and create chances, but definitely didn't get on the end of any of them, didn't really help their momentum in the end, and York was able to continue to capitalize.
Yeah, and Bobby talked about those wide areas, which seemed to be a problem for Forge.
We're around the ball. Our pressing wasn't good in different areas of the field, and that's something that characteristically is very good. And when we're good at that, we're good in the attack, and I think that's very important. And when you're not good in those situations, you give opportunity for the opponents. And we just we weren't adjusting to different, parts of the game. Sometimes it's all right, they've gotten the ball forward and we'll see what happens. And we see what happens and then pick the ball up out of the net.
You guys had a lot of the ball in the first half after they scored. It's kind of a missed opportunity not to turn that into something.
Yeah, I think in the first half we're, to be honest, better than the second. Created the opportunities, had a couple of goal posts, another couple of chances in the box, one with Becker on one of the cutbacks. So I thought, we're good, and we needed to continue that momentum. We got hit with one, done a good job to get back into it, but then you give up a goal that we shouldn't be giving up a goal. It's a great strike, but we should be covering those zones. Then after the third goal, pretty sure I just watched the video. There's a handball further up the field that wasn't called. Again, excellent strike.
And now Forge did come out at halftime, and they did get the equalizer. Beautiful strike from Borges off a play that he's practiced with Becker for a long time, and they pulled it off from the corner. And here, we'll check in with Borges after the match and what he thought. He was another guy that was clearly upset about the result. But Forge looked okay. They didn't play their best, but they had a draw, at least within their grasp.
Yeah, definitely. They did have some chances. Unfortunately, they didn't capitalize on them. There was a few posts, a few crossbars. So just unfortunate on their end. Again, their energy did really set the tone. It didn't allow them to get on the end of their chances, and it definitely didn't allow them to defensively be strong together today. There was a lot of they weren't on the same page, I would say.
When you talk about energy, though, it sounds like a very basic thing. Like, how could you not play with energy? I mean, what is that? Have you been in those situations where it just, for whatever reason, you just don't have that extra gear?
Yeah, I definitely. I think as a player, you have matches where you're not feeling it, even though you really want to be giving it your all. You're slacking. You don't have the energy to put in there. It's also a willingness. It's a mindset. I think a lot of times, when the result is not going your way, you get in your head and you're not able to bounce back quick enough to be able to help your team in that moment. So I would say in general, their mindset did slack today, and they weren't able to, go full throttle the entire night.
And it just seemed like I would say just as a whole, the club in general, just for whatever reason, it was sloppy. We didn't see that, Forge likes that up-tempo, quick passing, stretch the field. It felt slow watching it.
There definitely wasn't the cohesiveness that they typically have.
Right.
They are able to typically break down teams really easily with their tempo and being able to find the gaps with their movements. York did a great job at shutting down those gaps today. As I said earlier, they were controlling the ball. Forge was controlling the ball, but it was more so around the back to find the simple passes. They weren't creating those penetrating passes to really create fantastic opportunities for them to get on the end of.
Right. So Borges did get the equalizer, and here is a clearly upset Tristan post-match.
It's tough. It's tough to really say how I feel right now. I think losing is, obviously everybody's a little bit sad about losing and mad, but in my opinion, to kind of lose like that, especially at home, I just felt that the energy wasn't there. Sharpness, it is what it is in terms of kind of, being as sharp as you can on the ball. Everybody, can have a bad day, an off day, but it's tough. It's tough when you lose like that, especially to a team that was, at the bottom of the table in a game that, we really needed to have 3 points and just to kind of keep the momentum going. But, yeah, at the end of the day, it's another game. It happened, for the rest of the night. I think it's going to be bothering me. And when I wake up tomorrow, you just have to focus on the next game. There's still games ahead.
So the whole club feeling the effects of this one, which is probably a good sign. I mean, they're taking this one hard, which probably sets up, a week of training where guys are looking to right the ship and rebound. And they have a huge match against Ottawa, which, coming into this match, there was 1 point difference from first to fourth. Ottawa's in that cluster of clubs. So this next match for Forge next weekend on Saturday it could be for first place. So there's not a lot of time to dwell on this loss.
Yeah, I mean, if they weren't phased, I would be a little worried. Obviously, that shows their passion. It shows how much they care. It is an unfortunate way to lose, especially at home. It's not, it was a poor performance on their end, so it was definitely things they could have changed. That's where the frustration kicks in. To bounce back is super important. I know for me, in my experience, there's definitely been matches where I haven't bounced back, and it's really affected my performance in the next match, and we weren't able to get the result that we needed. And in this case, they can't afford to do that. They need to come out guns blazing. They needed that win tonight, and they need to go forward and just have that next move mentality every time.
Which is exactly what Borges said after the match.
Very important. For us, I feel that we do it to ourselves. I feel that, we have the capability of controlling every game that every time we step on the field, every game that we play. We have the, the quality, obviously, but the mentality, it needs to be consistent of, hard work that never stops. We know every team, they just put a lot of effort in, especially, every time they play us, it's always a big game, and rightfully so. So it's, obviously, next game, we know it's important, but for us, it's every game is important, right? It doesn't really change whether it's a battle for first place or a team that, at the end of the day, they're just playing with heart. For us, it's every game. We just got to go in and it's 3 points. We know how important, it is next week, but, we do have a good record of, in big games, we show up, we perform, and it's, like I said, we forget about it tomorrow morning. We just got to focus on the next game.
Tristan, you know Mo Babuli really well, his quality. What was he kind of able to do to you guys? What's it like playing against him?
I mean, at the end of the day, it's we know he's a quality player. That that's obvious, right? But like I said before, I think we did it more to ourselves. I just think tactically we were off. Energy wasn't there the whole 90. It wasn't us. I mean, I think that's the easiest way I can explain it, especially how we've been throughout this whole year. Of course, we've had some tough losses, but the way I look at it, this one was really, really tough to handle. And yeah, I mean, touching on Mole, it's obviously he's a quality player. He's a very, very good friend of mine. He's been with us, through a lot of ups and downs as well. But for us, it wasn't just singling out anybody individually. It was just really focusing on what we could do and controlling the game, and it didn't work today.
So York did get their third goal from Mo Babuli, who's won and scored so many goals in a Forge uniform. He comes back to Tim Hortons Field, and that was the dagger. Although I feel like after York scored that second goal, it just completely took the wind out of Forge's sails, because they weren't, I think when you think of tempo and aggressiveness, you think offense, but there's an aggressiveness on defense, and that's not the defense as a whole, but just as a team, they didn't seem to have that aggression in their defending either.
Yeah, exactly. There's a saying that you're only as good as your defense. Defense wins you games, and there is a lot of truth behind that. Obviously, you do have to finish in that final third, and Forge didn't do that on their other opportunities. But if they had been more solid defensively, they could have prevented York's goals. Again, all three of the goals were great finishes.
Yeah, they were great goals.
Credit to them.
And that's it, right? Sometimes Forge didn't play well,
right?
But also credit where it's due. I mean,
yeah.
York came into a tough place to play. And I mean, they played really well.
Yeah, they definitely did. It was the energy that was the biggest difference for me. You saw it, right from the get-go. They were high pressing. They really wanted this, and it just seemed that Forge wanted it at the beginning. They were comfortable on that ball. I keep going back to that, but they were very composed. That first 5 minutes really stood out to me. I definitely thought that they were going to have a better match just from the first 5, but unfortunately the tempo really did shift, and after that first goal, Forge struggled to kind of get out of a rut, and they struggled to really find their footing once again. Obviously Borges' goal, great finish, but they struggled all around tonight.
Yeah. How long does a loss like this stick with you normally?
I mean, I think you can give yourself the night. I don't think you can carry it on into the next day. Obviously, you have to take the lessons you learned from this match and apply it to the next match, so you're not repeating yourself. But definitely can't let it linger too long. Otherwise, as I mentioned before, it will carry on to the next match, and it won't be in a helpful way.
Yeah, and I mean, to the club's credit, to Forge's credit, the players all came onto the field after and had autograph session with. I mean, we saw the lines of fans waiting for autographs. It was a lot. So I mean, the players came out and they were professional about it, and they still, I think Borges talked about that too. It's going to be tough to sleep tonight, but by tomorrow, I think that might be enough time, because Atletico Ottawa's coming up, and when you're playing for first place, we're in the tail end of the season here. The good news is you lose, but there's lots to play for next match. I mean, that's always got to feel good, that you don't have to sit with this too long.
Yeah, and I think Borges really touched on it where, he spoke of the talent in the room. He said he believed in all of the players and he knew that they would be able to bounce back. And I think that shows a lot about their belief in one another, and that's super important moving into the next match. You can't dwell, and for that same reason, I'm just glad that they are able to believe in one another, and they're able to move forward to the next match. Yeah.
Next match, as mentioned, Atletico Ottawa on Saturday at 6:30 in our nation's capital. 3 straight matches on the road, and then they return home September 10th to take on Cavalry, and that'll be a big one because I'm sure both will be battling for that top spot. All right, I think they're going to kick us out of the stadium soon. So, Jessica Lisi, I'm Anthony Urciuoli. We'll talk to you soon.
This has been Match in Review with Anthony Urciuoli on the Forge Audio Network. For the latest on all things Forge FC, subscribe on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.